Deputy President Paul Mashatile addresses the National Heritage Day event in KwaMashu, north of Durban. A very good afternoon. We're coming to you live from our studios here in Auckland Park, Johannesburg. Thank you very much for tuning in. You're watching The Week Ahead. You can interact with us on social media platforms. It's at Week Ahead, and our hashtag is The Week Ahead. I'm your host, Mfundo Mabalana. Deputy President Paul Mashatile has called for unity and diversity among South Africans. Mashatile was addressing the national celebration of Heritage Day in Durban a bit earlier today. He emphasized the government's strategy in eradicating poverty, fighting crime, ending gender-based violence and boosting the country's dwindling economy. Mashatile says government has made strides.
Today, the 24th of September, is the day of promoting and preserving our collective memory as a people. We are a country united in our diversity. We belong to great men and women who stood and fought for South Africa of our dreams. A South Africa that is non-racial, non-sexist, democratic, united, and indeed united in our dreams. Program Director, as South Africa, we have been fighting for a non-racial, non-sexist, democratic, united, and indeed a prosperous society. We are one people. Like the great Pixley Isakagaseme envisioned, we will continue in these teachings and guided by uniting and bearing any division so that we can be a great nation that even Madiba, the founding president of our democracy, envisioned in 1994. Today's celebrations take place under the theme, celebrating our cultural diversity in a democratic South Africa. An important theme that tasks us to reflect on our democratic journey and also embrace the complexities that come with nation building and social cohesion in the context of our past, present, and future. I'm encouraged by the presence of South Africans from all 9 provinces who are here, who will be participating in activities throughout the week. Program Director, siyabamukela bonke abantu bakwaZulu-Natal and all people who came to honor this event as organized by our Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture together with the province of KwaZulu-Natal. It is an honor for me to participate in this day of celebration through the delivery of this address. It is indeed a full circle moment for me, as I have previously had an honor of being the Deputy Minister and Minister of Arts and Culture as well. I believe that arts and culture have an important role to play in the social transformation agenda of our country. We must remember that this sector played a key role in the anti-apartheid struggle, uniting us under shared cause and globally rallying support for the end of an oppressive system anchored in the philosophies of racial desegregation. Program Director, we all know that many tribulations underscore our history because of our colonialism and apartheid of the past, but also the strength of our people against these oppressive regimes is noteworthy. Ours is a unique history that has inspired many nations towards embracing unity and diversity, and showing that difference can be a platform for development and not destruction and division.
The Eastern Cape government is set to commemorate Heritage Day at the Lesserton Methodist Church outside Kobani, with Eastern Cape Premier Oscar Mabuyane slated to deliver the keynote address. Let's now bring in our reporter Abongile Janchi. Abongile, good afternoon. What are we expecting at today's official provincial Heritage Day celebrations?
Well, good afternoon to you too. We're coming to you from Lesserton here in the Eastern Cape, where the provincial government is holding its Heritage Day celebrations. I can tell you that the weather is not quite okay here, very stormy weather here at Lesserton, but that didn't deter people from packing this marquee where the Premier of the province, Oscar Mabuyane, will deliver that keynote address for the province. You'd recall that this area we are in, this Methodist church that we are in, it's just outside, it's just raining so that we can't go there now, played a really prophetic role during the days of apartheid, where political leaders used to gather there to maneuver their ways to go forward with regards to the struggle. The Methodist Church is in a state that is not quite okay now. It's in a state of dilapidation, and there are plans that it be declared a heritage site. So that's what the Premier was telling us earlier on. But let's get reaction from the Methodist Church. I'm now joined by Bishop Martini. Sir, thanks a lot for your time. The government is celebrating here Heritage Day. What are your views on that, on the role that this church played?
Look, the Methodist Church has played a very significant role in making sure that the development of African people, whether it's through education, whether it's through health, building hospitals, or whether it's through agriculture. And so as we are here at Lesserton, we are very much happy as a church because this is a very historical institution. That is the Lesserton College. It was a seminary that produced many Methodist ministers. The first ministers like Dr. E.J. Mkoboli, like Seth Mokitimi, the person that we have named our seminary after, and also many others who have produced the hymns of the Methodist Church. And it has not ended there. It also helped the community of the Eastern Cape in terms of producing women and men of high stature. And so this site is a very significant site in terms of the Methodist Church.
Now that there are calls that it will be declared a heritage site, surely that will bring a sense of development and economic spin-offs for this small community.
Yes, we are very much happy for this community. You must remember that we are living at a time where there's very much high unemployment in the Eastern Cape. And so once this area has been developed, many people of this community, not only this community, but everyone else will benefit from the spin-offs. That is in terms of development, and also the economy of this area will definitely benefit.
And lastly, sir, we see these days Heritage Day, and some people just say it's just a way for government to spend funds. But the significance of Heritage Day from the Methodist Church, how would you highlight it?
Well, I would say it's true consciousness. Heritage help our people to remember where we are coming from, who we are, and also to know our history. And so as we are in this site, it is a place where we're saying to our people, come again, we remember who we were, who we are, and also our future. We must remember that if you don't know who you are today, you will never know where you are going forward. And so this is about not only about history, but also about the future. And so that is our understanding of heritage.
Bishop Martini, I understand that you are called there, so let me release you, sir. But thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you very much. And also thank you to our presiding Bishop, Purity Malinga, and also the Bishop of the District, Bishop Svidla. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot for your time, sir. Well, as you can see, that the service here is underway, and the Premier is yet to deliver that keynote address. Back to you in studio.
All right, thank you very much for that reportage. That's our reporter Abongile Janji out in the Eastern Cape for us. To Limpopo now, where the province is joining the rest of the country in celebrating Heritage Day at Zwigodini Village. This year's heritage theme is celebrating our cultural diversity in a democratic South Africa. The theme puts a spotlight on the country's rich, unique and diverse cultural heritage. For more on the story, let's cross live now to SABC News reporter Lutendo Bobodi. Lutendo, good afternoon to you. Just take us through what we can expect from the program that side in Limpopo.
Thank you so much. I just learned right now that the Premier of Limpopo, Stan Mathabatha, won't be making it, so he has delegated MEC for Coxra, MEC Baskop Makama, to be the keynote speaker here. We are out in Zwigodini, as I said earlier, not far from the borderline with Zimbabwe. It's quite far. It's deep in the rural area. What you are seeing now behind me, it's called Chikona. It's ancient jazz. It sounds like jazz as you can hear it. It's a dance and the blowing of horns just to honor the chief. The chief of this village is about to speak now, and he'll be introducing the keynote speaker, who is Baskop Makama. But for now, here I'm joined by MEC for Sports and Culture, MEC Nakeli Kaikana, who joins me now. MEC, thank you so much. Why?
Thank you so much.
Why Ilibuthoka really event mo Zwigodini?
Go botlhokwa gore re be le event mo Zwigodini ka baka la gore re lebeletse gore ke one of the municipality ya Musina e leng gore e bordera Botswana. Hence today re le mo re na le di visitors tja Zimbabwe ba leng gore ba tlo honor this event ya rena today. Hence mara it's a rotational thing. Re rotate from one district to another, but basically re khethile Musina local municipality ka baka la gore e bordera le batho ba the sister country ya Zimbabwe, and they are here with us to witness that.
Yeah. And we're also talking about our heritage site. Here we have the Boabab, the biggest Boabab in the world, which is Sagore. You must be proud, and this might have motivated you to bring this event here.
Yes, precisely, because we have the baobab tree, one of the heritage activity, the tree that you can't find anywhere across the globe. It's only us in Limpopo and it's only Bembe, hence we have chosen. It's not only the baobab tree, but they also have the marula tree, they also have the mopani tree. They are very much rich in heritage. We also have the mapunguwe, the melting pot of gold. Bembe district, we are very much rich in the heritage that embrace who we are as the people of Limpopo.
Yeah, and before I let you go, you are docked out in a beautiful dress. Just talk to us about it. The colors, is that, what is the theme here?
This is the Lobedu attire. And one of the things that we are rich of in terms of the heritage is also the issue of the queenship. You know, the Rain Queen, Queen Mujaji, hence I'm dressing like this today. This is a significance to honor the Rain Queen because this is the Baluvedi culture. And not only Baluvedi culture, you can see we have embraced different cultures, ethnicity groups across the Limpopo province. And one of the most delighted things is that we have included the Afrikaner people. Most of the time when we celebrate these national calendar events, we don't see the white people gathering here with us. But today, we are very much delighted. It's not only for the first time. We had them in Mutua Batsonga. We also had the Indian people in Capricorn district municipality. This indeed shows that we are embracing everybody, every culture in the province.
Yeah, well, that's MEC for Sports and Culture in the province, MEC Nakeli Kaikana. But by the way, what she was saying in Sipedi was that they've chosen this area because of its diversity. It's a polyglot area where you have a lot of people speaking different languages, different customs and cultures. That is why they chose this area. Also bordering Zimbabwe, and we have Shona-speaking people here joining and also demonstrating what they have in terms of their culture.
Right, Lutendo, thank you very much for that update. We'll catch up with you a bit later on as the program continues. That's SABC News reporter Lutendo Bobodi. More news on the other side of this break. Do stay with us. Thank you very much for staying with us. Now, the Niles Flay Nature Reserve in Modimolle in Limpopo is rich in biodiversity and home to over 400 bird species. It's also home to different types of antelope and other endangered mammals. It's also been declared a Ramsar wetland site because of its international importance. The wetlands play a crucial role in attracting tourists to Limpopo. SABC's Mahlatsi Palade has more.
Known as the biggest wetlands in Limpopo, the 40 square kilometers of Nesville Nature Reserve is home to over 400 bird species. These include birds such as the swallows and the paradise flycatchers. Other birds such as the Ama falcon and the barn swallows fly as far as Russia and China to converge at a floodplain annually. The name Nesville originated in the 1800s from a group of Voortrekker farmers. The name is synonymous with the Great River Nile. Those who frequent Nesville describe it as a unique experience.
It was a beautiful experience just to be closer to nature and getting back to our roots, so to speak. Yeah, and the birds making the beautiful sounds. We're here to see nature. We have already seen the birds. We have seen one animal. What do they call it? Tsetsebe. I don't know what it's called in my language, but they said it's tsetsebe. On the issue of nature is very important to us. We need to conserve it.
The reserve is home to Africa's most famous antelope, such as the kurus and the wildebeest. It's also home to one of the big 5 animals, the leopard. The reserve serves as a sanctuary for endangered animals such as the roan and the tsetsebes antelopes. Conservation of the animals is crucial as they serve as totems in the African culture.
This particular reserve, it's not only for the department, but it's also belonging to the communities at large. That is why, as the department, they've provided this week for the community members to come here in our reserve. Not only Nesville, but all of the reserve in the province that are accessible for community members. And those people, some of them, they believe on the issues of, others they call themselves the ndlovus, and others they call themselves, the totems. In terms of, when they visit their reserves, those animals, it represents their clans and surnames.
Tourism authorities say uniqueness of the reserve has improved the status of tourism in the province since the advent of COVID-19.
We performed very well the first year after COVID, more than the year before COVID, because people came and wanted to go out because they were confined in their houses because we were not allowed to move freely around. So we are now picking up, if I may put it, we are now starting to perform as tourism.
Tourism authorities have encouraged South Africans to visit the nature reserve during the Mahala week. This involves free entrance at Limpopo Nature Parks. Mahlatsi Paladin, SABC News, Nesville in Mokopong.
South African National Parks is encouraging the public to take advantage of its National Parks Week program. The campaign grants free entrance to visitors to 22 national parks countrywide. One of its iconic parks is the Mapungubwe National Park and World Heritage Site in Limpopo. It boasts activities such as a tour to the confluence where the Limpopo and Shasha rivers meet in Botswana and Zimbabwe. Journalist Katla Khonyoni and senior video journalist Hulisane Livebe visited the park and filed this report.
Spectacular views of the Mapungubwe landscape, complemented by the beautiful scenery and natural wonder of its mountains, valleys and wildlife. The park is expecting an influx of visitors throughout the week, looking to take advantage of the free entrance. As the annual National Park Week returns, communities including schools will enjoy the park's natural scenery and wildlife. Students from a nearby TVET college were among the first to seize the opportunity. They say they are eager to learn about the history of the UNESCO World Heritage Site, which contains artifacts dating back thousands of years in its museum.
I'm looking forward to see a lot of things, especially the things that were used during the past, especially by our forefathers and ancestors, as we know that most of our ancestors and our forefathers originated in this place. So I'm looking forward to see how they were living, what were they using, and how did they cope in this kind of place.
We get to come here and explore. For even those who can't afford, it's very nice. They get to see and explore things about our heritage.
So many people cannot afford to come to Mapungubwe, but now it's free entrance. Everything that you do is free. So many people from other countries, from other provinces are here.
It's much exciting that Mapungubwe can honor people around Musina and all over Limpopo to come for Mahala Week and experience and explore more of its heritage.
Archaeologists tell of a story of the kingdom of Mapungubwe, where its rulers occupied a mountain top called the Hills of the Jackals. Besides its rich history, the park also offers a variety of wildlife, including 4 of the big 5.
Mapungubwe National Park is one of the big 4 animals. We have elephants, lions, rhinos, and the leopard in there. The only animal that we don't have is the buffalo around here. But there's a lot of elephants. You can even see behind you down there, it's a lot of elephants feeding in here. So there's no way that you visit Mapungubwe you don't see the elephants. And we encourage you to come throughout this week, visit Mapungubwe. You go to experience the confluence, you experience the Mapungubwe Hill as well.
Close to 700,000 people have participated in the National Parks Week's program since it was introduced 17 years ago.
It is the week that when we incept this in 2006, the main theme is Know Your Park. So we encourage all local South Africans to know their nearest park, to know their heritage around them. So it is important for all small businesses throughout this week, as we open from the 16th here in Mapungubwe up to the 23rd of September. The small businesses, tour guides, they can bring their South African citizens, enter for free.
St. Parks says Mahala Week has gained momentum since its inception back in 2006. For a national park like Mapungubwe, all systems are in place to welcome tourists into the park. Katlego Nyoni, SABC News at the top of the Mapungubwe Hill in Limpopo.
The Marubeng Visitor Centre in Gauteng journeys us into our biological history, which dates back millions of years ago. It's home to some of the oldest known fossils in the world. SABC News producer Musam Khalipi visited the centre to find out more about our biological history and what it means to us in this day and age.
This is Marubeng, home to the exhibition center, which takes visitors on a journey of discovery to learn more about the origins of humankind and our biological heritage. It allows visitors the opportunity to view original hominid and dinosaur fossils, as well as ancient artifacts housed in the fossil display room.
This place is very important in that it tells us about our origins, our humanity. We have Mrs. Place, who dates back now. We have a new date. We think that it dates back to about 3.6 million years ago. And with these fossils, they are not like us. They are not human, but they are a transition between us and other animals. So if you can look at them, they look like your chimpanzees, but they are not chimpanzees because they also have features that we have, like your small teeth and stuff. So this place is very important. It tells us about our ancestors.
So what are some of the commonalities? You mentioned that, chimpanzees and us, and there are similarities. I guess, what are some of the common factors that, these fossils have to us as humans right now?
As mentioned, it's small teeth. Even though they have smaller brains, we have bigger brains, but it's small teeth, and they are also bipedal, so they walk on 2 legs. Yes, you do have those that still have longer arms. Their forearms are longer, but they walk on 2 legs. So that's very important, and it tells you about their cognition, because some of them were starting to make tools. So we have our knives today, but they used tools, stone tools, to make their lives easier. And some of them, they even used fire. So they're very important because we are here today because of what they did back then.
Marubeng is a World Heritage Site with a name that means returning to the place of origin in Setswana. Many fossils journey back in time from the start of our universe, some 14 billion years ago, to the present and beyond.
This is one of the most recent species to have been discovered within the cradle, discovered in 2013 at a cave called Rising Star. So Homo naledi is basically young because Homo naledi only dates back up to 336,000 years, whereas all these other different species of hominids literally date back to millions of years. So in the cave where all these fossils were actually discovered of Homo naledi, the theory is that, the cave could have been used as a burial site because over 1,000 fossils were discovered of 15 different individuals from different age groups, because now we're talking about remains of infants and small children, teenagers, adults, elderly groups, all discovered in, one chamber. So about 336,000 years ago, what we're saying that there must have at least have been some kind of symbolic thinking that would be a bit more similar to modern Homo sapiens.
The first hominid fossil was discovered in 1924. The Davung child is the fossilized skull of a young Australopithecus africanus.
So the one that I'm holding now, we call this the Darwin child. So this fossil was discovered in the Northwest back in 1924 by Professor Raymond Dutt. So this was the first Australopithecus africanus skull to be discovered around the world. Then Mrs. Bless was discovered later on in 1947.
Also amongst the findings to have been made by scientists within the cradle of humankind is the famous Mrs. Pless, the first complete Australopithecus skull to be discovered, and more recently, Littlefoot, a 14.17 million year old almost complete ape-man skeleton that was discovered in the same caves. One of Gauteng's favorite heritage attractions, the award-winning Marupeng Visitor Center, has welcomed more than 1 million visitors since it opened in 2005. It forms part of the 8 World Heritage Sites ranked by UNESCO. It forms an important part in learning about our rich and cultural diversity and is set out to include educational efforts encouraging people to engage with the concept of heritage in South Africa. Musam Kalipi for SABC News.
All right, more news on the other side of this break. Do stay with us. Welcome back. The owners of 360 Life say they have thrown in the towel and are filing for liquidation. The insurer has been in curatorship for more than 2 years now and has accused the Reserve Bank's Prudential Authority of foul play and discriminating against it because it's black-owned. According to the acting CEO of 360, the insurer was placed under curatorship back in 2021 after being hit badly by the COVID-19 pandemic, and insurance claims wiped out its ability to meet its financial obligations.
COVID-19 hit the NUMSA-linked 360 insurance business badly, with increased claims exponentially wiping out the solvency of the firm. Kandani Msibi, the acting CEO of 360 Life, says they offered to capitalize the insurer, to which the regulator or the Prudential Authority ignored. This led to the firm being put under curatorship. He says the business has since recovered, making it solvent again, but the Prudential Authority insists on keeping it under curatorship.
Most interestingly, as soon as COVID was over, the business clawed back its solvency position to where now it meets the MCR and then it is closer to meeting the SCR. So basically, the business has shown that I'm alive. It's almost like a patient picked up in a road accident, presumed dead. But then wants to stand up, but the paramedics want to keep him down.
In his recent appearance to the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Finance, Reserve Bank Governor Lesetja Kganyago told the committee that there were material breakdowns in controls in the company. Msibi accuses the regulator of shifting goalposts and being anti-black. The Reserve Bank says the PA deals with entities on an individual basis to ensure the safety and soundness of these entities in the interest of policyholders.
Breakdown of controls, what do you mean? What is broken? What controls are broken? He can't tell us that. Right? We've met with the governor and said, what do you mean by breakdown of controls? He can't tell us. Is there money laundering in the company? There's no money laundering in the company, right? Is there money disappearing that you don't know how it is moving? No such a thing exists. I think they're embarrassed, right? They're embarrassed to take this business out of curatorship because everything that they have said about us has not been proven correct. They actually they were surprised that this business, being in curatorship, it could actually come back, because they don't come back. In fact, the governor does not like me saying they have a mission to destroy black insurance companies, but they have.
Msibi says the group will be filing for the liquidation of 360 Life. In a letter addressed to the staff members of 360 Life, Msibi says the group has given up on 360 Life coming out of curatorship anytime soon, and it's no longer able to afford to wait anymore. He's invited them to the launch of a new insurer.
We're accepting, like parents that have lost a child, that it is time to move on. Right? And when we move on in honor of that child, we must make great success and achieve the objectives that we've set for ourselves. And because the power of this group and the power of 360 Life, the power of 360 Life rested in the group. That power is there. In that it is 160 branches nationally, it is 600 staff members, it is the ability to mobilize 600 agents, it is the NUMSA space in terms of 340,000 NUMSA members, right? So we are not necessarily we're not beaten. We've lost rounds. We have not lost the whole game, right? Because the game for us goes beyond just owning an insurance company.
In response to Msibi, the Reserve Bank says the audit process to confirm the financial soundness of 360 is underway and says any further decisions regarding the entity will be made by the curator. Diabo Seito, SABC News, Johannesburg.
To the Western Cape now, where the city of Cape Town is grappling with the uncontrolled disposal of nappies or diapers. But now residents of Langa Township have embarked on an initiative to combat the environmental hazard. They've partnered up with the University of the Western Cape and producers of diapers. The pilot project is aimed at collecting data regarding the use of disposable nappies and to come up with safe ways of disposing them.
Many township streets in Cape Town, just like many places around the country, are littered with unhygienic waste. Public spaces are often used to dispose items such as product packaging, plastics, furniture, food scraps, and nappies or diapers. According to research, it takes over 400 years for diapers to fully decompose. Now the Langa project is targeting early childhood development centers and households to find better ways of disposing of nappies.
The amount of work that the water and sanitation does alone, when you go to zone 18, there's always a truck there that is taking out nappies and pads out of the drain. Like it's so much work. So we want to see, by the time we are done with this project, we are able, with our data and with the guys that we are working with, we are able to see the difference, because in every dump that you see in Langa, there's lots of nappies.
It's working well for me, and it came at the right time, almost long overdue, because the wastage that we're keeping for the city of Cape Town to collect, they're collecting only once a week. And then when the bin is full with nappies, you know, the flies come, and then you get worms, and then it stinks the whole house, and you don't even know where to put your bin. And it's not safe for us to go and litter. We're trying to avoid litter by all means.
The Langa Community Patrol, a safety group in the area, says the project is cleaning up the environment and taking the youth off the streets.
We were targeting the people that were ex-convict, the people that used to smoke, the people that are unemployed, and we've got 3 phases in Langa. We've got the location, we've got the zones, and we also have got the place called White City. So we targeted to employ both in all 3 places.
Some of these nappies, we saw them lying around, you see. That's where the problem is. The purpose of this project is to stop that, because the project is about risky health hazard. So we are trying to reduce that unhealthiness of the nappies that are lying around everywhere. So that's the purpose, is to stop that. So whenever you see the street is the street clean free.
The city of Cape Town is grappling with nappies littering township streets. It says it has welcomed the Langa initiative and hope that it could lead to sustainable solutions.
I think the producers, and I'm hoping it is the case, that they're looking to use the data to better on their products. Understanding that their products is not most probably good for the environment, they can produce something better that is biodegradable when it goes to landfill and it goes into the earth. I'm hoping that is why they're supporting this initiative, because that is what we're actually looking from all producers. Because all producers, the content might be something healthy, might be something good, but the product that they use to store it in is not always good for our environment.
At the moment, chemicals are used in the disposal of nappies. So after these diapers are put in these bins, they are collected by trucks to a landfill site where they are compressed in a hole. Project coordinators are hoping this project spreads to other communities. Thule Joga, SABC News, Kwalanga.
All right, let's shift our focus to politics now. Rise Mzansi is hoping for a seat at the table after the 2024 elections. The party, which was founded in 2022, says they're hoping to have 500,000 volunteers across the country by May 2024. Party leader Songezo Zibi took his recruitment for volunteers to Khalishiwe Township in the Northern Cape.
A handful of people braved the dusty weather and gathered outside the Maibuye precinct to hear what Rise Mzansi has for a potential voter. Those in attendance were treated to some entertainment ahead of the political address. These voters say the message of the new kid on the block resonates with them.
As far as we've really been within the political parties that have been there before, we haven't really got, I would say, assistance in voicing what it is that we are really getting challenged with. So yes, I'm willing to see what it is that the new voting elections are coming with and what it is that the new parties are bringing us with. And we're open to exercising our votes.
I'm not a political party person, but what stood out for me in Rise Mzansi is the fact that Rise Mzansi is not really a political party, but rather a movement that is an alternative that will rise up for people and what they really have been waiting for all these years. What the promises that were made in 1994 were not really kept, but Rise Mzansi is saying we are the change that we've been waiting for.
Despite not being keen to discuss projections for the party post-elections, Zibi says they plan to work with organizations at grassroots level, like it was previously done by the United Democratic Front, will be their winning formula.
A democracy is a stock fair. If we are not all in it and putting in our bit to make things happen, it does not happen. That's a genuine message. People get that. So the response has been great. We are not at projections yet. We've got our own internal projections. What we are doing as a target right now is to get to the People's Manifesto Convention in October. There will be over 1,000 delegates from all over the country.
The party manifesto will be released in November this year, followed by candidate selection. In February 2024, the party says they will release the People's Plan for Change as they gear up for the elections. Margaret Mutibi, SABC News, Kimberley.
The African People's Convention president, that's Themba Godi, is adamant that his party will be represented in the National Assembly post the 2024 national elections. The party's support dipped below 20,000 at the 2019 polls, resulting in the loss of a seat in parliament. As the party celebrates its 16th year anniversary themed the Year of the Branches, it aims to work the ground to ensure a victory at next year's polls. SABC's politics reporter Natasha Piri filed this report.
The APC is celebrating 16 years of its existence, and part of the party's program is to prepare to contest the 2024 national and provincial elections. The party says it has learned from its past mistakes and will ensure they win a seat in parliament.
The most important thing is the fact that we have been working hard. We have not stayed on our laurels, and so far the strength of our structures and the way we are doing our work in a systematic and focused way gives us the confidence that not only will we be represented back in the National Assembly, but our secondary objective is to make sure that in the provincial legislatures we're also represented.
The party says it will be willing to go into a coalition with other like-minded parties who have the interests of people at heart.
APC will not be isolated. It will be there being part of whichever final coalition that we'll feel comfortable with. However, the bottom line for us is a developmental agenda. What is it that brings us together? In the absence of which we may not be interested. And some of the weaknesses in the local coalitions that you have is the absence of a political program. And I can tell you that some of our experiences point to the fact that these so-called big parties are the ones who are into this coalition just to loot. No interest whatsoever in saving the interests of their people.
Meanwhile, some friends of the APC that were in attendance offered messages of support.
Yes, our message is a message of solidarity. It is that it is time that we need to consolidate as Africans. It's time that we need to come together. We are here to call on APC to be part of the Liberation Front. That includes former liberation movement. That includes African political parties, socialist-oriented political parties.
The APC says since its existence, it has managed to assist traditional leaders to get better salaries, help land claimants and people living in the mining communities, as well as serve its scopa with diligence in Parliament for 15 years. Natasha Piri, SABC News, Johannesburg.
On the other side of this break, stay with us. Welcome back. Thank you very much for staying with us. We start in South Sudan, where the country's parliament has passed a bill in preparation for the first ever national elections scheduled for December 2024. But the largest opposition group is protesting the passage of the National Election Act, warning that it would result in an undemocratic vote. SABC's Patrick Oyet reports from Juba.
Elections in South Sudan are planned for December 2024. South Sudan's ruling party under President Salva Kiir has amended the new election bill, granting special powers to whoever will be elected president to appoint 5% of lawmakers after elections.
Election must be democratic. If you appoint, is it an election? Is it a democracy? This one, our constitution says we shall be democratic nations. That means we shall go for elections and we will accept the results.
The ruling party also increased the size of the National Assembly to 332 lawmakers. The opposition group, led by Vice President Riek Machar, says it wants the parliament to have 250 MPs. The polls scheduled for 2024 will be the first for the country that gained independence 12 years ago. Elections are supposed to be held every 5 years in South Sudan, but a long civil war halted the process. President Kiir's group says the powers granted to the president are necessary.
This 5% is meant for the minorities who cannot, under any circumstances, pass or bring in a representative. These minorities are the ones which are being put into consideration. This is in addition to the people with special needs. These people with special needs are very few, and they are part and parcel of the South Sudanese community.
A unity government between Kiir and his rival and deputy Riek Machar has largely failed to meet key provisions of the peace agreement, including drafting a constitution, but it says it wants elections to go ahead in December next year. Patrick Oyet, SABC, Juba, South Sudan.
A spiritual group called the Great Empire of Kemet has been barred from conducting a pilgrimage in the Blue Swallow Nature Reserve in Kapsewup in Mpumalanga. The Department of Forestry, Fisheries and the Environment obtained a court order to have the group removed or barred from entering the nature reserve.
Frustrated spiritual group will claim their fourth pilgrimage has been disrupted.
Now that we are here gathered as Africans celebrating our culture and us living, they are stopping us because the land is owned by whites.
While some managed to enter the reserve, as many were barred from entering the gate due to a court order by the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and the Environment. The nature reserve is a protected land for the endangered blue swallow birds found here. The department banned all future pilgrimage without a permission.
These reserves are especially grasslands and some patches of indigenous forests and woodlands.
Due to the declaration, all activities in the Blue Swallows Nature Reserve are guided by the National Forest Act. Upon learning that the movement is planning a pilgrimage this weekend, the department sent a license application form together with the guidelines to the Great Empire of Kemet movement and also reached out to them for further guidance, but the movement did not apply nor avail itself for the proposed meeting.
The permission require no night stay, camp or start any form of fire, but inside camps have been erected and fire beaming. The group says that is part of the pilgrimage.
We said to them, we cannot meet the dictates of your license because Tina, we've got to do izinto la as guided and dictated by our culture. So therefore we don't qualify according to your license. Tina says the cultural aspects la ukuthi mele silindele, we've got to do a night vigil where we wait for the sun to rise. That signifies a new year for the Southern Hemisphere. We call the African New Year. Now, the government manje on Heritage Month wants to deprive us of that.
Police are monitoring the situation. Opa Masilela, SABC News, Kapsewap.
To our guests for the discussion on Heritage Day and more, we're now joined by cultural expert Professor Sihaugele Ngubane from the University of KwaZulu-Natal. Professor, good afternoon and thank you very much for joining us. Firstly, just for the benefit of those who might not be aware, take us through the history of this holiday, taking it as far back as Shaka Day, then to the back and forth around the Public Holidays Bill.
Thank you very much for inviting me. Historically, the 24th of September was called Shaka's Day by the then KwaZulu-Natal government during the Bantustan era. In 1954, when it was first celebrated to remember King Shaka, Ilembe lekamanya malembe ngokukhalipha, who united the smaller tribes into a nation. And we are the only people referred to a nation in South Africa because of a combination of small tribes, and some of the tribes remained because Shaka wanted to unite all the African, more especially the Nguni people, to become one big nation. Before he was assassinated, he planned to go across the Tavuna River so that he reached out to Fago in the Transkei. Because, as you know, that Nguni is the largest in the hemisphere. If you care to know that there is AmaXhosa, AmaNdebele, AmaSwati, and AmaZulu, those form a Nguni large group. So it was in remembrance and commemoration of King Shaka for the great work he did for the nation. Mm-hmm. Because even the Zulu clan was just a clan, it was a tribe prior the arrival of King Shaka from KwaDingiswayo. We remember that Shaka went to KwaDingiswayo Mthetho and trained, and after that he came to re-establish the Zulu kingdom.
Mm-hmm. And then, Professor, to how we celebrate it today, it's said that we celebrate this day to encourage diversity, to also encourage cohesion and even reconciliation. Your views on this?
South Africa is blessed to have diverse cultures and diverse languages. We have various ethnic groups, which makes us unique than other countries. When you go to Japan, everyone knows there is a Japanese. Where you get to China, they are Chinese. They speak one language, they've got one culture. But here, we need to embrace our cultures because this is what makes us unique compared to other countries. Mm-hmm. So this day is made for that people must showcase their cultures so that they are reminded who they are and where they come from. Culture is is a way of life that was lived by our forebearers, and we want to identify ourselves as the forefathers because we are Africans, and this is a reminder that we must behave like Africans in Africa.
I love that you've already touched on language, Professor. Perhaps to now tackle this, the very complex link between language and culture or heritage. It's been debated for many years, kids being encouraged to speak their mother tongue, even in an era of globalization such as the one we're in now. But the most recent, I would say for me, the most recent debate on language and culture emanated from the reports around Russia offering their language to be taught in certain countries here on the continent. And I saw a number of scholars writing pieces saying that it's a bit concerning because language, when you import it, you ultimately also import one's culture. How important is language to one's culture and heritage?
Language is very important because culture is expressed through a language, and this is how it is brought from generation to generation. So for all the history of the African people, it's transmitted through a language. And a language also has to do with cultural identity. Because I speak Zulu, then people will know that I'm Zulu by birth because of the language. So the language is very, very instrumental to transmit culture. And that is why we need to embrace our mother tongues. Because if you care to think that some of the cultural practices cannot take place if you use English or a foreign language. You need to use your mother tongue so that you connect with the people of the past who spoke that language. Well, you cannot just go there and speak English because they will not understand you. It's like we have grew up into speaking English because of its hegemony, and you find people dreaming in English. And it's very funny that an African or indigenous person can speak the language to an extent that he can dream about the language. So we encourage during this month of heritage that language is our heritage, and we must teach our children how to speak our languages, and through that language we will be able to teach and instill culture to our children.
Professor, such great insights. Unfortunately, we have run out of time, but thank you very much for sharing some of those with us. That's cultural expert Professor Sihaugele Ngubane. And that's where we leave it for today. Enjoy your afternoon further. Goodbye.